The chandelier light shimmered across the marble floor like liquid glass, reflecting off polished wine glasses and silent eyes that followed every move. In the center of that elegant dining hall, where laughter usually lived and secrets were diamonds, stood a man who didn't belong. His name was Noah Carter, a janitor who spent most nights mopping the same marble that rich shoes dirted by day. But today wasn't a normal day. Because the woman leaning into his ear, her perfume sharp with urgency, wasn't just anyone. She was Evelyn Ward, the billionaire's wife, graceful, stunning, and trembling as she whispered the words that made his blood run cold. "Tell him I'm your wife. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of doing what's right, then please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner to help us spread stories that move hearts and change lives." Noah froze, his mop still dripping beside him. The room's soft music faded under the weight of that request. He could see her husband, Richard Ward, across the hall, the men who owned this hotel, this city block, maybe half the skyline. Richard's gaze was sharp, suspicious, and far too steady. Evelyn's grip tightened on Noah's shoulder, her red dress a sharp contrast against his gray uniform. "Please," she whispered again, voice breaking. "Just for a moment." Noah didn't understand, but he saw the fear in her eyes, and it was real. It wasn't the kind of fear born from guilt or lies. It was the fear of someone trapped, desperate for an escape. He swallowed hard, unsure why his hands were trembling more than hers. Moments later, Richard approached, his footsteps slow, deliberate, the kind that came from a man used to owning every room he entered. He looked at Noah, then at his wife, his smile razor-thin. "Is there something I should know?" he asked. And before Noah could even think, Evelyn stepped closer, looping her arm through his. "Yes," she said softly, "he's my husband." A murmur rippled through the tables. Forks paused midair. The soft piano stopped playing. Richard's smirk flickered. For the first time, something human cracked through that polished mask. He looked at Evelyn, then Noah, and simply nodded, before turning away with a cold, bitter laugh. Noah stood frozen, heart pounding, still feeling the echo of her words against his skin. When the crowd's whispers faded and Richard disappeared down the marble corridor, Evelyn finally exhaled. Her hand fell from his arm. "Thank you," she said quietly, eyes glassy. "I'm sorry. I had no other choice." In the hours that followed, Noah's world turned upside down. The staff began whispering. Some pitied him, others envied him, and a few even believed the lie. But Noah didn't care about rumors, he cared about the look of exhaustion in Evelyn's eyes. Later that night, when he went to clock out, she was waiting for him near the back service exit, her red dress now hidden under a beige coat. "You deserve an explanation," she said softly. "Richard has changed. He doesn't love me anymore. He treats people like property, including me. Today, he saw me talking to an old friend. I panicked. He doesn't like when I talk to anyone. I said that to protect myself." Noah stared at her, speechless. He didn't know how to respond to pain dressed in silk and diamonds. He wanted to walk away, to tell her it wasn't his business, but something in her voice made him stay. That night became the first of many conversations they shared in hidden corners and quiet hallways. She'd find him during closing hours, bringing him coffee, listening to him talk about his daughter, Grace, who was 7 and thought her father could fix anything with a mop and a smile. Evelyn would laugh softly at that, the kind of laugh that sounded like she hadn't done it in years. Weeks passed. The lie that had saved her became a secret that bound them both. But secrets have a way of growing teeth. One afternoon, Richard found them again, this time outside the hotel, where Noah was cleaning the fountain. He walked over slowly, wearing that same practiced smile. "Funny thing," he said, tapping his glass. "My wife's been glowing lately. I was wondering who to thank." Noah felt his throat tighten. Evelyn's hand brushed his arm under the table of her own fear. Richard looked at her, voice quiet but cruel. "Maybe you forgot who you are, Evelyn." He turned to Noah, eyes sharp as knives. "And maybe you forgot your place." The silence that followed could have shattered glass. Evelyn rose suddenly, trembling but defiant. "No," she said, her voice steady for the first time. "I just remembered who I was before you broke me." Richard's expression froze, fury, disbelief, shock, before he turned and stormed out. That night, Evelyn packed a single suitcase and disappeared from her husband's mansion. She left behind the diamonds, the cars, the name, everything. The only thing she took with her was courage and Noah's kindness. Days later, she returned to the hotel, not in red silk, but in a simple dress, and told the manager she wanted to buy out the janitorial company that employed Noah. Everyone thought she was crazy. But she wasn't doing it for him. She was doing it for herself, to rebuild, to start over, to be human again. Noah didn't know any of this until weeks later, when she showed up at the small apartment he shared with Grace. She looked different, lighter, free. In her hand, she held a folder of papers and a gentle smile. "I started something," she said softly. "A foundation for single parents who work in service jobs, janitors, servers, cleaners. It's in your daughter's name. The Grace Project." Noah couldn't speak. His throat closed, his eyes burned, and for the first time in a long while, he didn't feel invisible. Evelyn smiled through her tears. "You saved me that day when you said nothing," she whispered. "Now it's my turn to help you. So when you walk past someone in a faded uniform, remember, they carry stories, courage, and hearts that refuse to give up. Sometimes, the smallest act of grace can change everything." If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Let's keep kindness alive in a world that needs it more than ever. Speech balloon before you go, tell us in the comments, what would you have done if you were in Noah's place? Because sometimes, one whisper of courage can echo louder than a lifetime of silence.